little bit earlier than that 11:30 Eastern time start time that I set for my second go round. Yeah, I was trying to figure out some things. Things don't always go smoothly on these live streams, especially when it's just one person on the road in a car streaming from a cell phone. It's not always going to go smooth. So here I am, and here hopefully this continues to go smooth. I am in Columbus, Indiana. More specifically, I'm in Waynesville, just south of Columbus, Indiana. Columbus floods probably once a year, every spring. Sometimes it's worse than others, and this is one of the worst years for flooding that Columbus has seen. The one that everybody has in mind is 2008. I happened to live here in Columbus in 2008 when a major flood came through, and there's a creek that runs through town called Hall Creek, and it runs right by the Columbus Municipal Hospital. And the hospital flooded. They had to transport all the patients out, and a lot of people's homes were flooded out. I mean, Hall Creek runs right through the middle of town. So 2008 is something that everybody here remembers, unless it's someone of the younger generation who was born later. Otherwise, everyone here knows of 2008, the flood. This is not as bad as the 2008 flood here in Columbus, but the river, the East Fork of the White River that runs south of Columbus, the levels that it's cresting at, that it did crest at, were very similar to the levels that were seen in 2008. Hall Creek, however, through Columbus did not flood near as bad, so most of the people in town were safe from that. But I was able to get some drone shots earlier today so far. The only way I can show you these drone shots is through my laptop. So we're going to try to do this as smoothly as we can. I'm going to show you some of these drone shots that I got of the flooding here in Columbus, Indiana. So this was just south of town, maybe about 15 minutes south of Columbus. And this is a pretty, it's not common. It's not common for it to be this bad. But it does flood here every year, every spring, south of Columbus. Kentucky actually has it worse, and we're going to head on down to Kentucky later on. There's also a dense fog advisory this morning, so that's another reason why I delayed the live stream, because with the dense fog advisory, you can't really see much. I mean, visibility was pretty poor, but now it's clear skies like the forecast called for, but the dense fog advisory made things pretty hard to see. And you can see some of it here in this drone shot I took. So any higher than that, if I had gone any higher than that, you wouldn't have been able to see anything because of the fog. And there I am. Let's see. Yeah, and I'll continue to take some drone shots, and I'll show you guys what I'm able to capture, like this. I mean, this is all flooded waters. I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but that's not mud. That's flooded waters, everything. And then I just got done taking this. By the way, there's a road back here that goes across the river. I don't think you can see it from this drone shot. I think we have to go further down. All right, yeah. But you can see this community right here. This is Waynesville. And you can see how close the water is getting to the community here in Waynesville. And what's even crazier is that if you look around at this park that I'm at right now, you see downed trees from previous storms. Downed trees from previous storms. I don't know if it was a tornado but there's some damage to some of the homes on the other side of the street here. I mean, this area has just gotten hit. This area has gotten blasted with storms, and it's no different than a lot of the places across the Midwest and, you know, the Mid-South areas. Memphis and Arkansas have been blasted, so is Oklahoma, Missouri, and Indiana, and Illinois. Even Ohio has been experiencing flooding, Kentucky, Tennessee. Things have been really bad. I'm sure many of you have kept in touch with that. But that's how I'm going to be able to show you my drone shots as I go along, is through the computer there, and got to try to conserve battery whenever I can. I'm going to quickly set up my cameras up on top of the car here like I normally do. And then we'll be on our way, and we'll be driving around, and we'll be seeing some things. Now, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that there hasn't been any fatalities with this flood here in Columbus anyway. I know that there's been fatalities in other areas of the country that have been experiencing these severe floods, which is unfortunate. But it seems to be happening more and more, these strong river floods throughout the Midwest, throughout the middle parts of the country. You know, any place that's in the Mississippi River watershed, which is like 70% of the country or whatever it is, it seems like all the rivers in that watershed have major problems. Where I live in Michigan, I hardly ever hear about flooding. The only times I hear about flooding is a few certain areas in Detroit that were built in some really low-lying areas. And if you live in Detroit and you're watching this, Hanover Street, Dearborn Heights, hear about that every year. But yeah, it's bad. So a lot of the major roads here south of town are closed for flooding, and there's only one way in and one way out, which is to go, for a lot of people, it's to go way out of the way and take Interstate 65, because that's the only bridge that crosses the river that's open. Because all the other roads that cross the East Fork of the White River, you have to pass through some low-lying floodplains in order to cross the river, whereas 65, it's built up. So 65 is the only way to get anywhere right now. And when I was driving in this morning, there was a traffic jam on northbound 65 trying to exit off onto US 31, because that's the only way that people can get anywhere from down here. Like, it was like a dead stop in the far right lane of 65. So that's the kind of impact it's having on this community right now. It's just making everything really inconvenient. A lot of people can't go where they want to go in a timely manner like they normally would. Are any of you watching this live stream in an affected area from flooding? I don't even know how to... I don't do this very often. I have friends that live near Columbus. They keep getting hit. Yeah, they have been. It's unfortunate. I have family in this area, and I actually learned of a tornado that came within a few miles from some of my family members' homes. Now, this place does, I mean, this place is not, you know, completely safe from having tornadoes, but it's not like they happen all the time here. When they do happen, they're usually weak, but yeah, Indiana does have their fair share of tornadoes. It's just a matter of where they pop up. Does Illinois have severe flooding? I'm sure it does in the southern parts of the state. Not as much as Indiana, not as much as Kentucky, but in the very far southern parts of the state of Illinois, yeah. The Ohio River crested in Cincinnati at 60 feet yesterday, I saw, which is either close to a record or it is a record. And we all know where the Ohio River flows southwest on the border of Indiana and Kentucky, and then eventually, for a small part, it's the border with Illinois, and then that empties into the Mississippi. And you also have the Wabash River emptying into the Ohio right around there. And the Wabash Valley has seen a lot of rain too. So yeah, that southern part of Illinois is probably devastated. Cairo, yeah. Yeah, I think you're safe from flooding in northern Illinois too. I don't think, in Indiana, when I was driving down, I didn't start to see large puddles of water in the farm fields until I got to Anderson. North of there, it didn't really seem like there was much in terms of like severe flooding that you'd have to worry about. So yeah, don't worry guys, we'll be on our way here shortly. And I'll be showing you some different sights and scenes. I kind of know a few places around here. I learned how to drive on the roads that I'm about to show you. I lived in this floodplain for the East Fork of the White River for about somewhere between 4 to 5 years growing up. And when I was 16, we moved somewhere else. But yeah, I learned how to drive on these roads. And not much has changed down here. So I know this area quite well, I would say. Got 41 of you in here right now. Kind of messed up the timing a little bit. Had some things I had to figure out before I went live, so I gave myself an extra hour and a half. I got this new remote for my drone, and it was kind of weird, and I thought that I was recording footage and it wasn't saving, and it was kind of, it made me want to solve that problem, but it saved the footage. I just have to learn how to use this remote. It was the first time I used this new remote. Sometimes these technology things have their I don't know, things about them that are hard to learn. But I think I got a good game plan here of where to go and how to show you some drone shots, some live drone shots as I'm out here, and show you some of the flooding that's been going on here in southern Indiana and Kentucky. Tornado weather has gradually been shifting south and east, no flooding in North Chicago burbs. Yeah, it has. I mean, there's been a lot more slowly but surely here in Indiana. I can think of a few here in Indiana, in southern Indiana, that have been really devastating. Henryville, there's a tornado that ripped apart the town of Henryville back in 2012. I want to say 2011 or 2012. And ripped apart the high school. Thanks, Tom. All right, I'm going to set these up. Yeah. Guys, before we get on our merry way, turn this around here. This park has some real damage. Hard to see on the phone, maybe. Trees uprooted. I am a big tree timber fan, and maybe no way am I gonna be able to see it. And what he does, I actually learned of a tornado that almost came close to hitting a family member's house here by watching his streams. So these phones will heat up if you don't remember to blow some air conditioning on them, and it'll overheat and the stream will end. In my experience, it's not always easy, but it's fun doing these live streams. It's not always easy to pull them off smoothly, though, especially when you're by yourself. Almost ready to go here. Almost ready to go. I like to tie these things up and get them out of the way, these loose cords. And away we go. Show you some of my old stomping grounds here. There's a basketball court at this park. I think it's behind us. Is it? Is it even still here? Guys, the basketball court might not even be here anymore. But there used to be a basketball court at this park, and I played on it quite a bit because I lived pretty close, and there's nothing else that's pretty close to where I used to live. Very limited options when I lived in this area. Things to do when I was a kid. But don't come back very often to, this particular area. I come back to Columbus often, but I don't come back to this particular area very often. Man. Oh, man. All right, so look at this. Look at this. There's even a car washed out onto the side. How's that? Wow. So this would be why all the roads are closed down here. Right there. I've seen this before, guys. I've seen this before in this area. One reason why I really wanted to come down here is because I have a drone now, and I lived here for 4 to 5 years. This happened every spring that I lived here. I'm assuming this happens every spring. Not to this extent. Don't get me wrong, not to this extent. That highway back there is usually open. But I have a drone now, and I can just get some really cool shots that I would have loved to have seen, when I was a teenager. I was like 13, 14, 15 when I lived here. So I would have loved to see this stuff when I lived here. So it's kind of cool in that aspect for me to come down here and, be able to get drone shots, record it. Because this happens every year, but not to this extent. This is pretty bad. I am in Columbus. I am just south of Columbus, East Fork of the White River, in Jonesville. So Columbus is home to a confluence of 3 major rivers. So the Driftwood and the Flat Rock River empty out into the East Fork of the White River, and it heads south from here before curving and heading west through southern Indiana towards the Wabash, and then that empties into the Ohio. But right here, it's a major confluence of some rivers, and so it floods. When it floods here, it floods pretty bad, and it can flood pretty bad. It's common to see the farm fields flooded over and a couple of road closures on some of the bridges that cross the river south of Columbus. That is pretty common. You can expect that to happen at least once a year. But the highway right there, it's far enough away from the river that the highway doesn't always flood. That being Highway 11. That does not always flood. When that highway floods, things are bad. So for those of you who are in the chat and are following along, if someone else has a question, because I can't always answer because I'm driving, I can't always look to see who's asking questions and stuff, obviously. If you guys could fill in the others who have questions, that would be great. Also, don't forget to like this live stream if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe and do all that fun stuff that's pretty standard for YouTube videos. If you watched my last video on Putnam County, Illinois with the village of Standard. Has nothing to do with this area though. Guys, I learned how to drive on this road and a lot of the other roads around here. I learned how to drive on this little network of roads in southern Bartholomew County. So the rivers around here crested, I want to say yesterday or sometime last night, because they're just now starting to recede a little bit. I could see the line where it was receding there for a little bit for some of the drone shots. So I guess that's good news for the people around here that the floodwaters are starting to go down. But it's going to take a little bit before a lot of these roads can open. And those of you who are watching the live stream, we haven't even gotten started on road closures. If you saw that shot back there on Highway 11, you haven't even seen it yet. There are so many road closures around right here. Right now I'm driving on a hilly road because this is the only road that's open. So this is the only road that's open. This is the only way you can go north and south in this area to get around the closure on Highway 11, south of Columbus. The only way. So I'm in some higher ground area over here. But we're about to go and see some more closures. I'm going to be making my way to Kentucky, don't worry. I will be heading down to Kentucky after we get done driving around here. It is worse in Kentucky than it is here, and it is all over the state. It is the entire state. So obviously I'm only going to be able to go to a few places. I have Frankfort picked out, Frankfort, Kentucky. There is a lot of flooding in Frankfort. They have the Kentucky River, I believe, that flows through Frankfort. So things are really bad there. I saw some really bad images online, and we're going to go there next. Hopefully everybody's all right and everybody's able to recover. But yeah, this is pretty widespread severe flooding throughout the Midwest and the Mid-South area, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, all the way up in a diagonal kind of a line through Indiana. Some flooding in southern Illinois, not as much as here or as Kentucky. Kentucky has it worst. Kentucky has it the worst. But guys, we're going to find some spots to fly the drone. I'm going to show you what I see. I'm going to show you some other things that I see around here. We'll be seeing some flood damage. It's, I mean, not damage necessarily around here, but we'll be seeing some flooding. And the good news is that it really seems like everybody in the Columbus area, for the most part, seems to be okay. I might be wrong. There might be some news stories out there that I haven't read, but mostly all I've seen in the news is road closures. And that just makes it inconvenient for everybody. So obviously that's a headache. Obviously that's going to be a headache, the road closures. But as far as like, I'm sure there's some neighborhoods here and there that got flooded, some homes right along the rivers that got flooded. But nothing like the 2008 flood in, that Columbus saw. Nothing like the 2008 flood. Guys, I used to run down this road. It's about, if I remember right, it's about 1.5 miles, maybe 1.7 miles, the length that I used to run. I used to run down this road. There was not much to do in my house, so I would go and run down this road. I would do that, and I would drive golf balls into a farm field. And that's about it. I have not been on this road probably in over a decade. It's kind of crazy. Oh, you can start to see the flood. I don't know how well the camera picks it up. Yeah, going down the hill into the river valley now. Yeah. Well, I remember these train tracks. These trains would be so loud that came through. Gates were not up when I lived here. These gates are new, as I have learned from some family members. So I'm going to go straight here, even though this is a no outlet. I have a car coming, so I'll wait. But I'm going to go straight here, even though it's a no outlet. And you'll see why. I mean, you can already see why. Probably doesn't look like much on the camera, but that is much. It might not look like much on the camera, but that is much. Couldn't afford a bike sometimes. I'm not even kidding you. There's times I had a bike, but for the most part, I didn't have a bike. There we go, right there. Look at that. You can see some debris piled up on the road right here. Yeah, look at that. This was my backyard for a long time. Thankfully, this subdivision right here, thankfully they didn't build it any further back, because if they did, I mean, if you could only see how close this house is to the water. That I used to call the 6th Great Lake. Now that was pretty common. It didn't always come this close to the houses right here, but seeing that once a year was always pretty common, at least to an extent. And so there's this hill up here on this highway. Right here, by the way, guys, first road I've ever driven on, really, right here. This direction, this stretch. This is, yeah. Lived here for a long time, have some roots. Well, 5 years if you consider that to be a long time. Yeah, so guys, do not follow my lead here. Do not follow my lead here. Do not do it. Do not do what I am doing, okay? But this road goes across the river, right? This road goes across the river. They have that blocked off so that people do not try to drive through the floodwaters, and that is not what I am doing. I'm not driving through the floodwaters. I am showing coverage of how bad the flood is, all right? So do not go through these barricades, guys, when you're out and about driving around. I'm just showing how bad it is. And this road is closed so often throughout the spring. Like, it doesn't take much for the river to flood, or for it to flood over, like, if I can even point right. Yeah, it's hard to point to the spot, but you see it. It does not take much for the river to flood over the roadway right there. It does not take much. This is the East Fork. It's South Columbus. This is 800 South. Locals call it Azalea Road because right on the other side of the river is the town of Azalea. Any problem? Anything? Anything now? Anything now? Nope. I see someone saying yes. I see someone saying no. Yes, no, yes. Okay. I don't know why that was. There's no Bluetooth with the car going on here. The microphone's from the phone. So what I was saying out there is that you can hear a current in the flood water. Like it sounds like a raging river. It's kind of crazy. This is the East Fork of the White River, if you didn't catch me saying that earlier. East Fork of the White River, south of Columbus, over by County Road 800 South. So this is Highway 11. This is not a Tesla, it's a Chevy Blazer. Looks pretty nice for a Chevy if I say so myself. But this is Highway 11 and it's closed in multiple spots. Earlier I showed you debris over the road, a bunch of flood debris over the road, and a washed out car on the side. And up here the road is closed too. So I was over here earlier and there's not really a way to get around those traffic cones up there. But yeah. There's nobody on this highway right now because, I mean, it's closed in a lot of stretches. So there's nobody on this highway, so I'm not even really worried. There's a car right here, there's a car back there, so. Gotcha. Just a guy telling us that it's really deep. Probably thought I was trying to cross, but I'm not. I'm not trying to cross. Trying to get out of the car. What I'm trying to do. See? I'm out of the car. I bet you can hear. I bet you can hear. Really? That's unfortunate. Maybe it is a car thing. Maybe it is a car thing. And maybe I just don't know. Saw someone say invader drone. I'm gonna take it off here. It'll be hard to show you guys what I'm seeing live, but I'm gonna try. I mean, once it's up in the air, it's pretty straightforward, so. All right. It's going to be really hard to show you while I make some nice movements with the drone or whatever. But, there you go. Here's a closer look at some of the flood water. If it shows up well on camera, I'm not sure. Just flood waters flowing around. Yeah, so there's a $1,000 controller that you can buy, that you can hook it up to like a computer or a tablet, and you can just play a live HDMI stream right to the live stream. But I don't have that kind of money, so doing what I can here. That's the road, by the way. That's Azalea Road as it crosses over the East Fork of the White River. Pretty common sight to see this every year, but not quite as bad. South of Columbus, Indiana, East Fork of the White River. Closer to Jonesville than anywhere else. If you look up Jonesville, Indiana on a map, I am north of it at County Road 800 South and State Road 11. Good thing I lowered the drone when I did. There's a helicopter flying around now. This is a popular spot for news stations out of Indianapolis and sometimes even Louisville to fly helicopters around, but I think Indianapolis has, the TV stations have a little bit more money than Louisville, so I think you see Louisville, or you see Indianapolis more often than not, TV stations. But yeah, gonna have to swap out this drone battery, and then I'm going to head north to Columbus. I'm gonna have to go south before I head north, because the only way to cross the river is I-65. So it's gonna be a little bit of driving. But Columbus, that will be some sights and scenes for more people, because obviously Columbus, people drive into a town over a bridge there. That's a pretty notable landmark. Columbus is known for its architecture. So that site would be a lot more familiar for more people than this. Whereas this is more familiar for me, not really anybody else. That's right, I work for you, the viewer. As I'm showing you all of my stuff that's an interest to me and not anybody else. So after I hit up Columbus, head down to Kentucky. Kentucky! There's not much traffic on this road right now because it's closed in a lot of spots. Usually there's almost always someone going slow on this road, and with all the curves you can't pass them. With all the curves and the hills, you can't pass them. So usually there's almost always someone going like 5 or 10 miles per hour below the speed limit, from what I remember. For those of you who like to follow along, I just passed through Jonesville. Jonesville, Indiana, south of Columbus. And earlier, I showed you some drone shots on my computer from over here. Huh. I'm back. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna let this guy get out first. I'm back. So we're going to head north to Columbus, and we're gonna get some drone shots of Columbus. No audio, really? Really? None? No audio? Audio? Do you hear me? Anything? Wind noise? Alright. We are in a river valley, so cell service might not be the best. Perfect. This guy, when I was here last time, said that it was really deep back there behind these barrels. I'm going to see how deep it is. I'm going to turn around. I'm not going to drive through it like an idiot, but I'm going to see if I can drive around. See it. I'm gonna get stuck in the mud. Not worth it. Not doing it. Gonna get stuck in the mud. No way to move around the barrels unless you move the barrels individually. All right, I'm not gonna be that big of a douche. Get out of the car and just lift up the barrels. I think I'm gonna move it over here, and this one, and this one, and I think I'm gonna drive through. Not worth it. We'll see some other stuff, I'm sure. 100% sure that we will. I don't want to drive as fast as I normally would down these skinny little county roads because more people are using them since the highway is closed. So I want to be a little bit more careful than normal. See what I'm talking about? More people using these county roads than normal, including these dumb box truck drivers who drive over the line and go super fast along these curves because they don't know this road. Man, I got skills, man. I got skills. Got some mad skills. Guys, do me a favor as we're seeing all this flooding here in southern Indiana. Make sure you're liking the video. If you haven't subscribed, try to do so. And if you like what I do and you're wanting to support me, feel free to join Team Invader. Link will be down below. And all of the funds for that, by joining the YouTube channel membership, Team Invader, all the funds for that will go towards traveling, making more content like this, whether it's covering current trendy topics, news, whether it's weather related, whether it's, you know, some city got a loser of a mayor who wants to steal all the town's money, some kind of journalistic thing, any kind of trending news topic, or just traveling and seeing the country. All of the funds will go towards that, you know, travel and buying equipment and stuff. So we have to go the long way around to get to Columbus because of the floods. I'm seeing some more likes. I'm seeing some more likes. I appreciate it, guys. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. It's how YouTube works. YouTube likes interaction to spread it to more people. So, for more people to see it. So we got to sound like losers sometimes, us YouTube creators, and be like, please like my video, please subscribe, please. Got to do it. It is what it is. But I really do appreciate it, guys. A lot. So fortunately for us, it is not peak travel time. It's not rush hour or anything, so we should be able to get off the interstate and get on our merry way just fine. But it is going to be a little bit more crowded than normal because this is the only way to get around right now with all of the flood closures. Once again, here in Columbus, Indiana, the only way to head south from Columbus, the city, is to go around and go north to 31 and then south to on 65 all the way down here to 58. That is the only way, because 46 up here is the main entryway to get into Columbus, and it's flooded just like 2008. The exit ramps from the interstate are blocked off, so you cannot get onto 46. You have to go all the way around, and if you know Columbus, which I'm guessing most of the people watching don't because you're from other places, but it's quite the inconvenience to have to do that, trust me. I can glance out over onto the phone and I can sort of make out what some people are saying here and there. I saw someone say that they remember 2008 living 30 miles west. Yeah, that was the last year that I lived in Columbus, was 2008. That was the last year I lived here, and I remember it. Those were my latest memories of Columbus, of living here, was the flood from 2008. It was not good. And guys, don't forget to let other people know in the chat, if I'm not able to read the chat all the time, to let other people know where I am and what I'm doing. So right now I'm heading towards downtown Columbus, and I have to take the long way around because all the roads here are closed. Usually it would be about 5 minutes from here, but it's going to be about 15 to 20 minutes because I have to go all the way around. I have to go all the way north to the next exit, which is about 5 miles north, and then I have to go back 5 miles south. So yeah, that's what's going on here. All the roads are closed due to some major flooding. And right here's the 46 exit. State Road 46, it's blocked off, as you can see. Blocked off. Yes, I had my eyes on the road the entire time. Had a hand on the wheel the entire time. I do not recommend people to drive like that at all. Unless, I guess, you are a very skilled driver like myself. But do not do that. do not do what I just did. And I don't know if you got a good shot of the flood on 46, but it is definitely flooded over. And before we head completely out of this area, so I'm going to go to downtown, and then before we head completely out of this area, I'm going to show you that spot. And we're going to be off of the interstate. So, yeah. And then we'll be on our way out of here. Safety first, guys. Safety first. Always safety first. But when you're someone like me who has driven around for a long time in the country, and it's my job to show you what I'm seeing, it's a little bit different. But don't do it. And I try really hard to not do that. I do. Because it's not safe. Don't do it. Yeah, so this morning when I was heading down from Michigan, I was crossing through here during rush hour going the other way. This was backed up all the way through here. Traffic was at a standstill way back there, way back. We've already passed the point where traffic was lined up to, and traffic was not moving at all, because this is once again, this is the only way to get around all of the flooding closures in Columbus. So that's a lot of traffic that has to be diverted all the way out here to 31 and all the way down there to 58 where we got on the highway. Now, the reason why I'm going this way is I hear that flooding was really bad down here. So this road goes across 65, and on the other side of 65 is the Driftwood River. And the Driftwood River empties into the East Fork of the White River, which is where I was for most of this stream. And we should see a pretty big flood here pretty soon. Road closed for high water. You can't even get to viewing area. Well, I don't think I'll get stuck in the mud here. I'm not gonna drive through, guys. Do not do this. Do not go around these barricades, guys. I am just doing it to show you what is going on here. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's bad. So all this water is not supposed to be here. Well, I guess it is naturally. I guess if it floods here naturally like that, maybe it is supposed to be here. I don't know. Maybe this road isn't supposed to be here. This guy's flying a drone. What do you know? A fellow drone flyer. What do you think people blocking the road? So guys, probably gonna lose audio because every time I've left the car, I've lost some audio. Really, I'm just waiting for a guy up there to get done flying his drone so I can fly mine. There's actually a stalled vehicle in the water up there past the river. So I guess we'll just do this. Once again, audio is going to get lost probably. Really? Really? You got audio now? Now you have audio? Well, this is the Driftwood River. Driftwood River, north of Columbus. The Driftwood River leads into Columbus, and then it leads into the East Fork of the White River, which is the river that I showed you earlier. And yeah, it's really bad, and I did get some drone shots, at least, and now I'm just kind of waiting for that guy so that I can get some drone shots of that car, that stalled car. So once that guy's done, it looks like he's about done, I'm gonna head on over there. That way I don't interfere, and he doesn't interfere with me. I got some long arms here. I'm gonna use it to my advantage. It's really hard to show you the drone shot that I got from this river right here. But hey, if he's just gonna take his time, I guess we can try. Guess we can try. All right, so I have to hook this bad boy up to the laptop. That guy is really taking his time with the drone. I would have been done by now. I don't know, I'm kind of fast. I'm also kind of annoyed because I want to get it and I want to keep moving. Only so much time in the day, you know? All right, guys, got it pulled up here on the computer. This is my improvising skills right here. Man. Sorry for the glare. I'm trying my best here. Looks like he's almost done. All right. Look how close the water is to the bridge. Look at that. I haven't seen too many people put their homes on stilts for flooding here. I've seen it down by Madison, about an hour to the southeast. Seen it down there along the Ohio River. Whole community called Hanover Beach that's like that. All right. Here we go now. Here we go. I'll be quick. Driftwood River, just north of Columbus, Indiana. Downtown Columbus is next. You just got here 5 minutes, so what'd you miss? Rewind it about 15 or 20 minutes. If you can hear that. Can you hear that? Because apparently the audio keeps cutting in and out, so I don't know if you could hear that. But once again, if you could not hear that, rewind the video 15 to 20 minutes. the woman driving the car right behind me was eating a burrito or something. It always makes me nervous. Did you guys see the story recently of a driver in Ohio that killed at least one other person because he was reaching for his donut while he was driving? He dropped his donut and he was reaching for it. I am not a fan of eating while driving, or of people who do it. Kind of makes me nervous when I'm on the road around people who are doing that. That person that was eating the burrito did not see that the light was green and burrito. So guys, this is a park. This is a city park here in Columbus off of 17th and Washington. I forget the exact name of the park. But yeah, there's several parks here along the Flat Rock River in Columbus along Washington Street. There's several of these parks that are really nice parks when it's not flooded. And it's a good thing that they're parks because they're in a floodplain. They're in a flood zone. So, yeah. Good thing that these flooded areas in town are mostly just parks this time around. Mill Race Park is to our right. Didn't really get good shots of Mill Race Park, but don't worry, we'll park somewhere and we'll get it. Yeah, so this is the main way out of town. This is the way you would normally go to head south of town to the local rural areas. But yeah, blocked off. Can't do it. All right, guys, hang tight. As you have been doing. All right. Turn the car off. Bringing the drone with me and the phone. The audio might cut out. Every time I leave the car, the audio seems to cut out. All right. But gonna do what we can here. All right. Right by the bridge to get into downtown. The entrance bridge. This is gonna be difficult to do with bringing the drone. All right, so I'm gonna go walk over towards the bridge in Columbus without the drone. Gonna come back and then I'm gonna walk out with the drone. Gonna leave you guys hanging. But this is the bridge. I lived here for about 4 to 5 years of my life, and I've never walked across this bridge. So this should be fun. Because it's a really cool bridge. Because when you're centered up in the middle lane and you're driving over it, you see that right in the middle. And I can show you with a drone shot. Here it is. The talk of the town. The bridge is closed. What is everybody gonna do?
It's not awake.
So all this water that you're seeing right here was the water that we just saw up at the Driftwood River Bridge off of Tannehill Road just north of Columbus. And all of it flows down here because the confluence is just north of here. You guys able to hear? Able to hear? Every time I leave the car, it seems like the audio cuts out. Perfect. There's those same guys that were over there by the Driftwood River. That's kind of funny. Same guys, they must be with the news crew in Indianapolis. Those were the same guys I was waiting on with the Driftwood River. They were filming that car that was stalled up there. That's funny. I got out of the car and I was joking with the guy and I said, "You blocking my path?" What? And I said, "I'm just kidding." And it was funny. Ooh. From loads and loads and loads of rain. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but about 5 to 8 inches of rain within a 4-day time span. And believe it or not, Kentucky's the worst. But flooding here in Columbus is really common. It happens every year, but it doesn't happen this bad every year. So it's like one of the bad years. And fortunately, it just seems like the biggest storyline is that roads are closed. And probably some personal property damage. But hey, let me go get this drone shot real quick. Be right back. I just don't know how I can bring the phone with me. I only have 2 hands and I don't know. I'm back. There's still 35 of you. Thanks for sticking with me there. That will not happen again on this live stream. I'm in Columbus, Indiana. Some major flooding going on here. So for those of you who have waited, for your patience, I will show you the drone shots that I captured. My drone was giving me some problems, unfortunately. Some problems that I had to keep landing it and relaunching it. Sometimes that happens. But didn't get all the drone shots I wanted to, but that's all right. What am I gonna do with them? If I got every drone shot I wanted, I would not be making any progress with anything in my life. So I'll turn this on, connect it, show you guys. And then we will be on our way to Kentucky. Kentucky has it really bad, so we're going to be heading down there next. So for those who have not been to the city of Columbus, Indiana, and close this shade so that there's not as much of a glare on this laptop screen. This is the main entrance to town, right here. It's pretty neat how they have it set up with the bridge and with the courthouse centered in the middle of the bridge. Columbus is known for its architecture. And, yeah, that's the entrance to town. Pretty neat. Yeah, so my drone was kind of shaking on me. It's called a gimbal overload error. And so I have to land it, and then I have to bring it back. So I have to bring it back and land it, and then I have to just fiddle around with the gimbal a little bit. And most of the time that does it, but it just kept doing it this time. So I think I got a little bit of dirt in. That's a cop driving on the road, by the way, so. But I think I got a little bit of dirt in the gimbal, and whenever that happens, you just need to try to be patient and try to get some of that dirt out, because it does this. It shakes in the air. Gimbal overload error, so I had to bring it back. And this happened a couple of times in a row, so that's why it took a little bit longer, and that's why I didn't really get to, you know, grab all the drone shots that I wanted, so to say. Yeah. Can't go everywhere, unfortunately, that has seen flood damage, but we can check out some of it in Frankfort, Kentucky, and that place got hit really badly, unfortunately. A lot worse than Columbus. Pretty much everywhere in Kentucky has gotten hit a lot worse than Columbus. Have to enter the address that I'm heading to into the navigation here because my phone's being used for the live stream, so bear with me a second. All right, Frankfort, Kentucky it is. 2.5, or not 2.5, but 2 hours away. 2 hours and 2 minutes away. And of course, the in-car navigation is telling me to take 46 over the bridge out to the interstate. But this in-car navigation doesn't have live traffic info. It's just programmed computer data. If I want live traffic info, gotta pay, I think, $30 a month to General Motors. Yeah, no thanks, don't need that. Most of the time I can just use Google Maps. But I'm gonna have to go around north through town to 31, back south on 65, because that's the only way. Come on, move. There. While we're here hitting all of these stoplights in good old Columbus, Indiana, hitting all these red lights here. The first time that somebody stole something from me was here in Columbus, Indiana. I am driving by Cummins corporate headquarters. The first time I got something stolen from me was here in Columbus, Indiana. I was 16. I had a gym membership that I paid for by mowing my grandma's lawn. So I mowed her lawn, and then I spent the money on a gym membership in town. Well, during one of the floods, I think this must have been 2008. This very well could have been 2008. Yeah, I think it was. I put my stuff in a locker at that gym. It was off of Rocky Ford Road and Mar Road. I don't know if it's still there. That's where it was. And I put my stuff in the locker and come back after working out, only to find that all my stuff is gone, and there is a sticker that says Jesus loves you. And it's because of the flood of 2008. Whenever there's flooding like this, natural disasters affecting a lot of people, and the flood in 2008 actually flooded entire neighborhoods here in Columbus. So a lot more people were affected by 2008 than they were by this. People tend to go out and steal. A lot of you know that. But that happened to me. And they stole my car keys, but they didn't steal the car. I mean, why would they? The car was a 98 Oldsmobile Silhouette that I was driving. Why would they steal that? It's a minivan. Old minivan. Even back then in 2008, it was a 10-year-old minivan. It was ugly looking, and why would they steal it? I don't know. Well, they stole the car keys, but not the car. They stole my wallet for whatever that was worth for a 16-year-old kid who didn't have any credit cards, debit cards. I didn't have anything. I probably only had like $10 cash in there and my driver's license. So I don't know how that was any value to the person who stole my stuff, but they stole it. The most valuable thing that they stole was my cell phone, because my cell phone was in there too. And I mean, back then it was a crappy flip phone. Even for back then, even for standards back then, it was a crappy flip phone. I didn't have anything fancy, so yeah, got all that stuff stolen from me. And during the flood of 2008 here in Columbus, Indiana. There you go. I am heading towards Frankfort, Kentucky now. That is where I'm going now. Frankfort, Kentucky. Alright, so I'm about to show you guys State Route 46, what it looks like. If you blink, you'll miss it, but I'm about to show you, alright? So, keep an eye out. Paying attention to the road. Safety first. Paying attention to the road. I didn't quite see what that last chat said, but whatever you said, yeah, it's going to be a lot of laying low until we get to Frankfurt. Just going to be a ride along, really. Just going to be seeing Interstate Highway, and that's about it. This bridge up here, 65, over the East Fork of the White River. You can see some floods out of this side window here. Traffic is really light now, so that's good. All that water is not supposed to be there. See more on that side. Okay.